I recently fell into a conversation with a black atheist about a tweet he made. I can no longer find it, but it was along the lines of black people will persist under 4 more years of Trump if Bernie does not win. I refuted that claim that under Trump, black Americans have much more to lose than in any other Democratic nominee, based upon the fact that Republicans do not believe in systemic racism and will protect law enforcement no matter what. And this is where things went downhill. I posted an article that outlined systemic inequality from a source I did not really check. I just looked at the talking points because they're still valid nonetheless. Not being woke enough, I was then attacked for not knowing about the Center for American Progress. I was then asked if I thought anybody else would address problems of systemic inequality, and I replied yes, because if any healthcare plan or college plan that reduces costs would ultimately help the black community. The black atheist then chimed in with his wokeness that only Bernie can save the black community, and no other Democrat would fight for those major campaign promises. At this point, I realized just how fucking similar Bernie or bust people were to Trump supporters. They honestly feel like Bernie will be the savior for all their problems. The black atheist then said if Bernie doesn't win, then hail King Trump. In another tweet we were in, he admitted that if Bernie didn't win, he wasn't gonna vote. He would just sit out because he feels like no other Democrat had earned his vote. He had already decided this before hearing who wins the primary and listening to the winner. I find this behavior to be completely void of logic, which I'll get to later. However, I responded with saying that I'll be laughing at him because I'm a white male. Hell, get the short end of the stick more than me. Police don't shoot me for no reason. While I admit that the way I worded this tweet was kind of poor, the Bernie bros took this and ran. I was called a liberal white racist for admitting my own privilege. On top of that, the way my tweet read is different from what I meant. See, the first sentence of the tweet is me addressing the fact that I, by circumstances of my birth, will automatically benefit from the majority of policies that Trump's administration pushes. Many of them are designed to help my demographic. I was laughing at the irony that a black man would just sit out and let this administration continue. My second part was addressing the fallout of Trump's policies. Like deregulation will allow more pollution in black communities. Most white affluent communities are not built around sources of major pollution. The environment of not holding police officers accountable will just advocate for more violence against people of lower class and of different color. My third sentence is that I don't have much to worry about when I'm encountered by police from the logic of my previous sentences. I have nothing to really lose under those policies, as the black community does. I was pointing out the reality of not voting. I also had another side tweet with the black atheist in which he exclaimed he was in the same spot he was before Obama had came to power. First off, you're stupid for thinking electing a black president was going to fix the black community to begin with. But I called him out by saying that he was using his privilege as a means to abstain from voting. This, of course, was taken out of context, even though I explained that if he were in the same place he was before Obama, he was incredibly lucky since black wealth took a nosedive and the black community lost almost all their wealth gains under the financial collapse. The fact he didn't feel those effects were the privilege I was pointing out, because the majority of the black community was hit pretty hard from that. Now I admit I spoke from some ignorance here because I learned from subsequent tweets that many black people have taken the message that Candace Owens has been pushing.
That the left does not want to talk about. The number one issue facing black America is that fathers have been removed from the home, and yet Democrats want us to put illegals first. I say no thank you. I say build the wall. I say I don't want a green New Deal, I want a black New Deal. And the good news, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, is that that actually can be free. It doesn't cost $93 trillion. First and foremost, stop selling us our own oppression. Stop taking away our self-confidence by telling us that we can't, because of racism, because of slavery. I've never been a slave in this country. Stop telling us that we need to be obsessing over our past when we should be obsessing over our future and the potential that we have. Stop having a culture which tells us that we should want to be hip-hop artists and basketball players when we should want to be doctors and lawyers. We need to stop idolizing people like LeBron James and start idolizing people like Dr. Condoleezza Rice and Dr. Ben Carson. How about give us school choice? That would be nice. Stop.
This idea that the left has never done anything for the black community, that Democrats do nothing for the black community. I have major issues with this statement that I will address below, but for now, maybe it's my white privilege, but I have seen progress over the last 100 years for the black community, most of which was either the result of Democrats, especially in the North. I will admit that maybe Southern Democrats are not that great at addressing issues. I mean, look at who voted against the civil rights movement, and the South did. Almost every person in the North voted for it. Regional difference also plays a huge part aside from party. I have a couple points I want to address. First, fuck the Bernie or bust crowd. I will be voting for Bernie, but this group in particular is ridiculous. Not only was I called everything under the sun from racist to white liberal and alt-centrist, I was constantly asked to prove my leftist views. The amount of gatekeeping was unbelievable. On top of that, hearing all those individuals say that if Bernie does not win the nomination, then they don't care. This type of attitude not only is harmful to the democratic process, but also childish. It is like asking your mother for a cookie and when she says no, throwing your body to the floor and screaming. Just because your candidate didn't win doesn't mean you walk away. The idea that people would foolishly not vote to counter a Trump voter in their state strikes me as odd. We fought so hard to gain the ability to have more say in our government. People died for us to be able to vote and use that vote as a voice. I understand that by not voting, it also means to use your voice, and that may work in a local level, but at the national level, no one gives a fuck. People in power matter. Who is in power matters. No matter if you think only one person will personally come down from their mountain and help your community specifically. Another problem I have is this statement of, what are you going to do for the black community? You have to earn my vote. I may be speaking from my white privilege, but goddamn, when did electing politicians only become about what you can do for me? Does anybody not remember?
Would exchange places with any other people or any other generation. The energy, the faith, the devotion which we bring to this endeavor will light our country and all who serve it. And the glow from that fire can truly light the world. And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
Policies have a trickle-down effect to them. While the federal government may not be able to do much in your particular community, it does and will have effects over the broad range for the black community. Pollution in black neighborhoods is something the federal government can do and will be addressed under their climate change policies. Access to healthcare and education will be addressed under each nominee's plans, if they can get passed. These will not only improve the health and education in black communities, but also increase their ability to generate wealth in the end. Therefore, to sit there and question how one candidate is going to help your lot specifically misses the point of electing federal officials. I'm not voting for Bernie because his free college plan will benefit me. No, I'm voting for him because the free college plan will help Americans overall. I'm a veteran, and while addressing healthcare won't specifically help me, it will help my finances by reducing costs that I pay for my family. I vote for Bernie because I want everyone to be healthy and live long, prosperous lives. I have to address the grand delusions of the Bernie or bust crowd as well. Even if Bernie is elected, he cannot accomplish everything he wants. Even if he's elected for 2 consecutive terms. It took about 2 years for Obama to roll out his Affordable Health Care Act, even when Democrats had majorities in both the House and the Senate. I can almost guarantee that the right-wing media will whip up voter turnout in the midterm election as a backlash against people who voted for Bernie. The already socialist framed Bernie Sanders would have to fight an uphill battle against this reaction. If Bernie wins the primaries and wins the general, he is not capable of doing everything he put forth. Political capital is a real thing, and Obama struggled a lot with it. It is a metaphor used in political theory to conceptualize the accumulation of resources and powers built through relationships, trust, goodwill, and influence between politicians or parties and other stakeholders, such as constituents. Political capital can be understood as a type of currency used to mobilize voters, achieve policy reform, or accomplish other political goals. Although not a literal form of capital, political capital is often described as a type of credit or a resource that can be banked, spent, or misspent, invested, lost, and saved. The financial collapse of 2008 and the passing of the Affordable Health Care Act drained almost all of Obama's political capital. See, Bernie will have to play politics, just as Trump has had an immense time getting funding to build the wall. Bernie will have the same problems with the majority of his policies. The media will whip up whatever opposition they can into a frenzy of concerned voters looking out for their pocket and their guns. The power of Fox News and conservative commentators like Steven Crowder and Candace Owens have an immense pull on the right-wing opinions. Our country is plagued by voter fatigue and low voter turnout. The highest voter turnout was in 1876 between Rutherford B. Hayes and Samuel Tilden. 81.8% of the country voted. And once again, the president who won the popular vote lost. The highest voter turnout in recent times was in 1960 with the election of JFK with a 62.8% turnout. The elections of 2008, 2012, and 2016 barely pulled more than half. My point? Only half the country chooses the president, and those who go out to vote are usually reactionary. I know that advocating for voting in a system built by slave owners is one thing, but I'm pragmatic. Unless you want to take up arms and start the revolution, then I really don't care to hear what you think about our system if you choose not to vote. Voting is one of the only ways we have some control in who governs us, even if that control is an illusion. There is a process to change the system. I advocate for the most peaceful means of obtaining a better society for all. Armed revolutions don't work. Change has to come from the ground up. Hopefully that clears everything up, but whatever. Twitter's trash, so is the internet. But yeah, if you liked my video and content, please like, share, and subscribe. Leave some comments down below. I'll have another video coming out pretty soon. And thanks, everybody. Let's go Bernie, right?